Hey y'all, I hope everyone had a week of abundance. I know I did. I was able to get my Christmas tree up and it's a real one. That was actually one of my end of the year goals for 2025. I've never had a real tree before, so I'm excited about that. It's definitely my new thing moving forward. If you've never done this, I'd recommend making it a goal. It smells so good and it looks so beautiful. 10 out of 10 would highly recommend. I also went to see Erykah Badu this past week, and it was an ethereal experience to say the least. I went with the vibiest group of friends, and they were just as much of the experience as Erykah was. My friends are so versatile because we can go out for a fancy dinner, caviar, wine, tartare, all that. But we are also not above the $20 per person all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet and bringing in our own canned rosé, and that's exactly what we did. I sat next to my friend Natasha. We were laughing so hard my abs were hurting before the show even started. It was mom's night out. The kids are home with dad. So naturally, when they need something, they call mom on her off night. Basically, her daughter called because she wasn't feeling well and she wanted to Uber Eats herself some soup. Y'all, the soup was $35. All black moms know our kids all have this one thing in common. And that one thing is the audacity. So we had a really good laugh about that, and it was really just a cute night out. I also just want to shout out my friend Natasha. She has a store online, y'all. She sells very cute stuff for nurses and for everybody, really. So y'all check out her subscription boxes and her products. That's at nattynurses.com. The link is below in the episode description. So let's talk crime. Today we're going to be talking about the Jennifer Kesse case. This case is unsolved, and unsolved cases bother me because obviously I don't want people to get away with doing terrible things. In October of this year, of 2025, we learned that this case is no longer cold, so we're going to be talking about that as well and bring everybody up to speed. Jennifer Kesse is a 24-year-old woman, and in January of 2006, she traveled out of the country with her boyfriend and returned back to Florida where she lives on a Sunday. On January 23rd, 2006, so that's the Monday morning, she had to go to work, so she drove straight from her boyfriend's house to work. Now, her boyfriend lived in Fort Lauderdale, which is about 3 hours from where she lived in Orlando. She went to work, and it was a normal day for her. When her shift was over, Jennifer headed home to the Mosaic at Millenia apartment complex. She had recently purchased a condo there. She got off work at 6 p.m. and spoke to her father on the way home sometime between 6:15 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. She also spoke to her boyfriend around 10 p.m. that same night. That was the last time she was known to be alive. Sometime the next morning, her boyfriend called her on her way to work because they usually spoke at that time. When he didn't hear from her, he felt like it was unusual, but attributed it to the fact that she had a meeting that morning and decided he would try her again later. When Jennifer didn't show up for work, her boss became concerned and called her parents. Her parents phoned the apartment complex manager to check in on her and immediately headed to Orlando from the Tampa area, which is another couple of hours away. So the ball got rolling pretty quick for this case. Her family knew right away that something was wrong within the first hour that nobody had heard from her. Her parents also phoned her brother to head to Orlando so that they could figure out what was going on. Her brother and his friends had actually stayed at Jennifer's condo the week she was on vacation with her boyfriend. Logan Kesse, that's her brother, reported that his friend had actually left his phone at her apartment and he had communicated with Jennifer shortly before she disappeared to have the phone returned to him. So this is important information later. So as her family is making their way in the area to search for her, property manager reported that everything looked normal in the apartment, but her car was missing. Now, I don't know if this is because it was 2006, but I was a little unnerved by the fact that the manager to the apartment complex had a key to her apartment. I specifically remember my first apartment and my super did not have a key. He would always tell me be very careful if I locked myself out. And honestly, I always thought he was BSing until I actually locked myself out one time. But maybe this is the standard for some apartment complexes. Nonetheless, the apartment manager didn't think there were signs of a struggle and everything in the apartment looked normal. So her family gets to the area sometime in the afternoon and they immediately started canvassing, putting up signs, door knocking, all those things. They went to the police but didn't feel like there was a sense of urgency from law enforcement. Missing persons are tricky depending on the state or area you're in because when adults go missing, they feel like it is at the person's own free will. However, you can imagine this family's frustration when they understood there was no other reason she was off grid. The Kesses were sure something was wrong, and now we know they were right. We have never seen Jennifer to this day. Her body has never been found. Also, a couple of Jennifer's personal items were never found, including her phone, keys, wallet, and the phone of her brother's friend that she was supposed to return. This led investigators and her family to believe that she was abducted as or after she was leaving her apartment headed to work. Obviously, this became a nationwide search, but there was very little evidence. While the apartment complex that Jennifer lived in was near a popular outlet mall in Orlando, there was a lot of construction being done and the apartments were fairly new. So after this story broke and they realized that Jennifer's car was missing, law enforcement provided information to the public regarding a description of her car. 2 days later, a woman at an apartment complex about a mile away from Mosaic noticed a car had been parked in the parking lot that matched the description of Jennifer's car. When police arrived on site, they confirmed it was indeed Jennifer's car, but it appeared as if it had been wiped down for evidence. A fingerprint and a DNA fiber were lifted, but they were unable to test that back in 2006. There was also a hidden camera at that apartment complex where the car was parked, and on the hidden camera, they captured a person parking her car around 12 p.m. the day she went missing. The pitfall to the camera was that it only captured an image every 3 seconds, and because the angle at which the camera was pointed was behind a fence, the person that parked the car's face was unidentifiable on the video. Outlets have coined this person the luckiest person of interest in the world because his or her face was concealed behind the fence post in every frame. And this was all that law enforcement had at the time that could lead them to knowing what happened to Jennifer Kesse. The film was very grainy, so Florida law enforcement had the FBI and NASA involved to clarify the image, but they were unable to determine who was in the video. They were able to determine that the person was somewhere between 5'3" and 5'5". If this person was a man, he would seem to be on the shorter side, and they also were strongly convinced that it was a male, not a female. So let's talk about some theories in this case. The most likely theory, and also what the Kesse family has been vocal about, is that one of the maintenance workers at the time could have had something to do with the disappearance. Jennifer regularly complained to her boyfriend and family that she was often harassed by construction workers on site, and she felt very uncomfortable. One of the construction workers was questioned because a neighbor had identified him as the person in the surveillance video, but he denied any involvement and police didn't have enough evidence to arrest him. About 3 years later, after Jennifer disappeared, a woman moved into the unit below Jennifer Kesse and reported that she complained to management multiple times that she felt somebody had been entering her apartment when she wasn't there. In more than one instance, she noted that drinks were removed from her refrigerator. There were cigarette butts on her patio and she didn't smoke, and she noticed water in her kitchen sink and bathroom when she got home. She also noted that complex workers would enter her apartment for maintenance without letting her know. It got so bad that she broke her lease and moved out early because she was home one night in the evening and she saw a man on her patio, and when she confronted him, he started running. She was particularly unnerved by the fact that the man ran and got into a vehicle that was running and had been backed into the side of the building. So she felt that, number one, the person was familiar with the property, or he was known to security because after Jennifer's disappearance, the Mosaic property required people to show identification to a guard at the entrance to access the complex parking lot. Number two, she also felt that the fact that his car was still running when he went and ran and jumped into it led her to believe that he had a more nefarious motive for what he was doing. And that just really scared her. This tenant said her complaints were not taken seriously by management. She got a clear view of the person on her patio. However, she was never called by law enforcement to give a sketch, which is questionable considering that Jennifer Kesse disappeared only 3 years prior in the unit above her. Unfortunately, the maintenance workers and construction workers back in 2006 were undocumented, so it has been a little bit more of a challenge to even identify the people that were working there at the time. The person of interest could have left the country, especially after knowing they were caught on surveillance video. This is also why police took so long to release the video to the public, because they didn't want the person of interest to know there was a hidden camera. And some people felt like this was not the best move because at the end of the day, we just want to find Jennifer and bring her home. So this case is heating up. As of October 2025, this case is no longer cold. The technology has changed, and the family reported that police have said they were able to narrow down suspects based on the DNA fiber and the fingerprint that they were unable to test back in 2006. So I'm expecting something to shake with this case in like a year or two, and I'm going to keep following up because I'm invested and I really want answers and I want to know what happened to her. I hope we find out, and I'm confident that we will. God bless her and God bless her families. And again, if y'all need something, y'all know how to reach us. That's going to be email info@blackgirlstruecrime.com. Link down in the episode description. But that is all for today, folks. Until next time.